Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Visitor. I'm Hong Chao in Beijing. In today's program, we'll first visit the Canadian city of Vancouver to have some fun at its annual Rogers Santa Claus Parade. Then let's hit the 90th annual Royal Winter Agriculture Fair in Canada's Toronto to laugh at some buddy hopping. We shall take you to the legendary battlefield of the Great Patriotic War of 1812 in Russia. On the 12th of June 1812, the forces of Western Europe crossed the Russian frontier and war began. That is, an event took place opposed to human reason and to human nature, wrote Tolstoy in his great book War and Peace. The war took place between the Imperial Russian Army of General M.I. Kutuzov and the French army of Napoleon Bonaparte. Today, the memory of the Great Patriotic War of 1812 continues with the reconstruction of main battles, such as the Borodino Battle, which is thought to be the greatest combat of that war. Now let's visit the once bloody battlefields.
Almost in the center of this sky, above the Prichistensky Boulevard, surrounded and convoyed on every side by stars, but distinguished from them by all its nearness to the earth. Its white light and its long, uplifted tail shone the huge, brilliant comet of the year 1812. The comet which was said to portend all manner of horrors and the end of the world. Leo Tolstoy wrote that passage in his famous novel War and Peace. What produced this extraordinary occurrence? Near the end of 1811, Western European forces armed and concentrated themselves. In 1812, these million-man forces moved from west to east to the Russian frontier. Russian forces were also drawn there. On the 12th of June 1812, the forces of Western Europe crossed the Russian frontier. As Tolstoy writes, war began, that is, an event took place opposed to human reason and to human nature. Nowadays, the memory of the Great Patriotic War of 1812 continues with the reenactments of the main battles. Borodino Battle, for example, is thought to be the greatest combat of that campaign. It took place September 7, 1812, near the village of Borodino, 125 kilometers west of Moscow. The Imperial Russian Army of General M.I. Kutuzov fought the French army of Napoleon Bonaparte. According to recollections of men in the Borodino battle, Napoleon repeated the phrase, "The Borodino battle was the finest and the most terrible. Frenchmen have proved to be worthy to win, and Russians have deserved to be invincible." The Borodino battle is considered the most brutal of all single-day battles in history.
The Battle of Borodino took place 200 years ago, on 7th of September. It happened here, in this field of Borodino. The field is wide and has very few natural obstacles, so Kutuzov had to strengthen it with earthworks.
Reenactors of the Great Patriotic War of 1812 are not only fascinated with history. You can meet the actual descendants of its participants. We managed to interview one.
The Society of Descendants of 1812 participants takes an active part in the current reconstruction. My actual ancestors fought here. He was a member of the Imperial Guard Jaeger Regiment. Today I'm reenacting a French deminer. I have a huge axe, a bearskin hat, a fur pack, a horn, and a dagger. The full outfit and army is rather heavy. They did not directly participate in the hand-to-hand combat and served mostly for some engineer tasks. In other words, imagine a regiment needing to carry cannon over the river. I'm a single deminer in the trip. They give me 30 soldiers, and together we are heading to the nearest village. Soldiers are going to carry the logs, drive the piles, and plank the bridge. But they don't know how to work, what to begin with, and how to build. That's why they need guiding. Experienced deminers used to help with some engineering troubles.
According to technical and military ratings, the Imperial Russian Army was highly competitive with Napoleon's. Russian factories produced 120 to 150,000 guns per year. French factories only made 100,000. Before the war broke out, Russian army warehouses stored hundreds of arms, up to 175,000 guns, 296,000 pieces of artillery, and a huge supply of rifle ammunition. The French army's large force had power in numbers, good material and technical supply, and fighting experience. They had faith in their invincibility and stuck to definite principles.
In the French army, people were evaluated according to their courage and bravery. If you are brave and talented in combat, no matter where your parents came from and what was your background, you are ensured both the official epaulettes and a reward equal to merit and respect of your comrades. That's why I feel more related to the French army. Nevertheless, the War of 1812 did practically demolish the army of Napoleon.
By December 1812, the Russian army totaled 210,000 people. Losses were grave. Napoleon lost about 580,000 soldiers in Russia. According to calculations, 200,000 were killed, 150 to 190,000 captured, and about 130,000 defected. Even now, the figures on both sides are still debated across the pages of historic literature. But though toward the end of the battle the men felt all the horror of what they were doing, though they would have been glad to leave off, some incomprehensible, mysterious power continued to control them, and they still brought up the charges, loaded, aimed, and applied the match. Though only one artilleryman survived out of every 3, and though they stumbled and panted with fatigue, perspiring and stained with blood and powder, the cannonballs flew just as swiftly and cruelly from both sides, crushing human bodies. And that terrible work, which was not done by the will of a man, but at the will of him who governs men and worlds, continued. Wrote Tolstoy in the book War and Peace.